When you think of Max Verstappen, you can't help but think of controversy. He's quite a polarizing personality in F1, known for his standoffish behavior, but loved for the thrill he brings to the sport. So, what do people really think of him in F1? And is it really worth putting up with him? Welcome to today's video. We'll break it all down and let you know what we think about it. And we're certainly interested in your thoughts as well. Be sure that you can subscribe to our channel and drop us some unique comments and opinions below. Much appreciated. Okay, now let's start with this. Is Mad Max just rude or misunderstood? Max Verstappen is a pretty divisive figure in Formula One. And by that, we mean he divides people with his personality and viewpoints regarding events on the track. On the other hand, he's fantastic at what he does. Case in point, end of the 2022 season, the Dutchman and Sergio Perez were at the center of a conflict about following team orders. Max hurt Sergio's chances of finishing second in the Drivers' Championship and was pretty unapologetic about it. Stick around because we've got so much more ahead on that. Anyway, Atsej Kirchhoff, a fellow Team Redline driver, claimed that this is all just part of the Dutchman's misunderstood personality. In an interview, Kirchhoff stated, "How do I know Max is very different from how the world views him? What the Dutch do very well is that we always speak the truth about what we think. We're quite direct." Well, there you have it, guys. Max isn't rude, he's just very Dutch. When it comes to communication, he gets right to the point and is downright blunt, which doesn't translate well with most people. Also, Verstappen expresses his opinions to the media without holding anything back. According to the driver, the messed up thing about Formula One is that everything is such a show, so you can no longer take the truth apart from the fiction. By the way, this guy isn't happy that Netflix went on to create Drive to Survive, because according to purists, this gave the normies an insight into the sport, brought new fans in who might not necessarily know the ins and outs of F1, and Max has no interest in putting up a show for the dishonest and distracting series. Talking ill about your bread and butter, that never ends well. His fans seem to stand him for it though. They think that the most natural guy on the grid is being perceived by people as someone who's putting on a show, which is why Max is misunderstood. He doesn't care what other people think, which is a positive quality about him. Never loses sleep over it. Apparently, he's always getting in people's bad books because he expresses what he truly believes in the media. Well, it takes a certain level of ruthlessness to succeed, and Formula One world champion Max Verstappen has never held back. The Dutchman defeated 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton after 6 seasons in the sport, during which he's alleged to have verbally attacked other competitors, his engine, and even officials as he pursued a lifetime goal. Verstappen isn't the only one that does this. Even some of the greatest racers, like Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, and Lewis Hamilton, can't get through a race weekend without a driver somewhere on the grid letting out some frustration. Max's anger over Charles Leclerc's alleged rule-breaking during the Red Bull Stars win at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix even resulted in his own team urging him to keep your head down. Which brings us to this. Mad Max's childish outbursts. One of Verstappen's most memorable outbursts occurred during the season opening of the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix. Literally, you just need to look back at this race to understand his behavior. The world champion's title defense started with a horrible race, and he quickly became irritated with his team's request that he not push his tyres in his attempt to overtake Leclerc during 2 pit stop phases. The Ferrari driver yelled over his team radio after failing to pass the driver twice.
Okay, this is now 2 times that I take it easy on the outlap and I could have easily been in front. I'm never ever doing it again.
Talk about having a breakdown. He became even more pissed once his steering broke down 12 laps later, and when his crew asked him whether he wanted to pit, he responded with an outburst that we won't repeat here.
No, it's not. I have no real... What the is this?
Stop on it.
It's just shitting itself.
Doesn't leave much room for imagination, does it? His team must love him. 5 laps from the finish line, when the Dutchman was informed that what he thought was his failing battery was actually alright, his rage increased even further. He yelled back, "No, it's not!" before being forced to eventually quit due to a fuel pump malfunction, to which he said, "What the frick is this?" We wouldn't want to deal with that. Then, in 2021, we got a taste of his infamous rant in Abu Dhabi. A big part of being in any sport is, well, sportsmanship. Keeping composure even in the face of a loss. Not being a sore loser. Guess Max didn't get the memo on this one. This wasn't his biggest outburst, though. However, his annoyance was audible over the radio as he watched his world championship disappear at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It seemed that Max Verstappen would have a chance to attack Lewis Hamilton late in the race in an attempt to overtake him that would give Max the championship. This after the now notorious Nicholas Latifi incident, with only 5 laps to go, that brought out the late safety car. Latifi received death threats after that chaotic crash late in the race. But as the race's final moments approached, it was revealed that lapped vehicles between Verstappen and Hamilton, and those behind the safety car, would not be permitted to pass on a restart, ultimately giving Hamilton the victory. The Dutchman expressed his displeasure with the decision, saying, "Yeah, of course, typical decision," just when Michael Masi abruptly changed his mind, allowing only lapped cars to overtake and forcing a one-lap head-to-head battle between the championship contenders. Needless to say, his entitlement gets everyone a little on edge at F1. Especially one guy, Sir Lewis Hamilton. Okay, truth be told, Hamilton likes playing mind games with him, and Verstappen doesn't even need to wait for a race to express his rage. At the United States Grand Prix, during a practice session, the Mercedes driver pushed past Verstappen, and the Dutchman mockingly called him a stupid idiot, while pointing his middle finger in his direction. When told of Verstappen's actions afterward, Hamilton replied, "I think at the core of everything has to be respect. For my part, I make an effort to stay upbeat, maintain my composure, and, like before, show respect to the other drivers. If I have a name for who I believe they are in my thoughts, I don't share it." Oh boy, now that's a cold response. But think about it, Max really had it coming. And despite conceding, the Mercedes driver respects the Dutchman and thinks Max Verstappen is the one who has a problem with him. Truth is, you either love Max or you hate him. Just like black licorice. Everyone has their reasons. He speaks in an insulting way to most people. He pushes other drivers around, and he gets far too interested in grid girls. And that's not all. Apparently, because he was devoted to fighting racism in other non-violent ways, he made the remark about not kneeling during the pre-race festivities. People can't stand him for that. Oh, and once, he warned people that he might headbutt them if they asked him why he crashes so frequently. And there's another thing about him. His teammates. We briefly discussed it earlier, but you need to understand what his former and current teammates actually go through and what they've said about working with him. Take the Brazil Grand Prix in 2022, for instance. On lap 7, Verstappen and Hamilton collided at turn 2. Sure, Verstappen was fined by the officials for making contact. We believe it was more or less a racing incident, as was the opinion of Sky Sports broadcaster and former driver Martin Brundle. But Verstappen's refusal to give up the 6th place to teammate Perez on the final lap after Perez appeared to have allowed him to overtake earlier in the race was what actually sparked the outrage. It doesn't matter if Perez allowed him through on team orders, but the team's in charge of maximising collective performance, right? Verstappen's declaration that he wouldn't do it over the radio was super rude. He had the spoiled brat attitude of someone who thinks he controls the squad. Okay, he somewhat does, but whatever happened to teamwork? No teammate has been able to match him in performance, and let's face it, Red Bull's been brutal in its punishment of those who have tried and fallen short. Verstappen should have given Perez the position himself. But the more important question is, should the team have publicly demanded that he give Perez the starting spot? Does it really matter though? Verstappen snapped back in a bossy voice that he'll do what he discussed with them before the race. You see, team orders have a long history of being disregarded in Formula 1. And Max Verstappen is the poster child for not following them. That tells you everything you need to know about how he's seen in F1. Let us know in the comments what you think, and make sure to like and subscribe for more awesome F1 Inside Information videos. This has been F1 Racing Now, your inside track to all things F1. See you in the next one, racing fans!